Hi guys and girls, Clop Keeper here, and today I'm coming from downtown sunny Cocoa Beach. We'll see you in the sand. Actually, that's a little wishful thinking. I'm here in the Northeast, it's getting cold outside, and I've got another project to work on today. Okay, so this is today's project. It's a Wonder Horse. This Wonder Horse has been up in my attic for a few decades. My father gave it to my son, and now it's my job to clean this guy up, do a little restoration work on it, and get it ready for my grandson. During a move, I lost a couple of springs, and I'm going to tell you where you can get replacement springs for this at a pretty reasonable cost. Amongst other things, so what I'm going to do is clean it all up, try to make it, somewhat safe. We'll try to eliminate pinch points, stuff like that, and I've got a little bit of work to do on it, so let's have at it. You have to get the plastic off that's been, degraded over the years. So this works pretty good, and then when I get it all cleaned up, what I'll do is I'm going to armor all the whole thing to moisturize it, per se. There's a lot of other places on here where there was maybe some tape, and again, I'm just using, I'm using a little bit of PV Blaster on here to take this residue off. And it hasn't attacked the paint. So that's what you got to look out for. These are painted. You don't want to put a chemical on here that's going to be too harsh and attack the paint. So my suggestion would be to, whatever it is you're going to use, I use, like these penetrating oils a lot for taking glue off, any residue like a gluey surface off of objects. Whatever you use, do a little test spot in a inconspicuous area, and make sure it's not attacking the paint. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking off the voice box that's on the bottom of this. It's got a couple different sounds that it puts out when it's got some sort of a rocker switch in it. Okay, all in one piece, that's good. And I just got to get this out of the way. You can see it actually does. It has a mercury switch. Okay. You can see there's a mercury switch here, and that's what sets this thing into a galloping sound. And looks like there's two mercury switches in here, one for light activity and another one for full gallop. I do recall that there was a problem with this battery holder here staying in place. As you can see, I've had some glue on here, so I'm going to try to get this fixed up as well. And the battery's still in there, and it's not all corroded, so that's a good sign. Kind of interesting here. You can see there's a sensitivity adjustment. So you've got a wheel here, and basically what that wheel is doing, it's just moving the PC board back and forth to adjust the mercury in the vial of glass. So as I was moving the horse around, I could hear something rattling around inside, and there's a couple of plugs here from when it was drilled out from the factory. But I also found an AR-15 with the scope. So you can see what I've done here is I wrapped the chain around through where the handle is, and I've got it attached up top side. I use these chains here for different projects. Alright, so what I've got now, I've got some hot water a face cloth and some mild soap, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe this whole thing down. So fortunately the plastic looks like it's in really good shape. Consider it's been in storage for a couple of decades. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over it with Armor All. This is a protectant. What it's going to do is it's going to help to prevent any breakdown of the plastic. It's going to protect the plastic from, you know, UV rays, or it's just basically going to moisturize it. All right. So while I was taking this apart, what I want to do is I'm going to clean up the. These are oak. These spindles. I'm going to clean them up, throw a little bit of polyurethane on it. What I noticed was on one of these brackets here, I've got a split in the metal right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire brush this all down, and I'm going to braze this up. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to braze up the other side while I'm at it, because it looks like it's a weak point. The other end of that bracket has a bend in it right here, where it goes up against the wooden dowel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to straighten that out. I'll put it into the my jaws here, and it shouldn't require any more than that. That's straightened right out nice. So you can see is here I wire brushed this whole area, and then what I did was I was looking down the line. I was actually looking at both of them. I put both of them together, looked down the line, and I could see that this had a little bit of a bend in it. So what I did was I put it in the jar of the vise. This is only about, the jar is about 3/4 of an inch deep. And I just put it in the jar and clamped down onto that spot and brought it back into, and just straightened it out. So now it's ready for a braze. What started out as a pretty simple job got a little bit complicated when I found out I had to do some brazing. Brazing is going to involve oxygen acetylene, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to braze some bronze into the metal to stiffen it up, make it more rigid, and put it back into service. But by doing so, we don't want to cut corners on safety. As you can see, I've got a fire-rated suit on here. It's a jumpsuit. That way there, if I get any slag, any sparks take off from the weld area, I'm going to be protected. I also have a couple of fire extinguishers over here at hand, and what I did was I made sure I don't have any oily rags around my work area. And you can see this is where I'm going to be welding. I put a metal bucket down here, so if any slag hits the floor, it doesn't pop and you know, go into an area, into the rug here or whatever, and cause any kind of a problem. So I just try to be a little bit more proactive when you're welding, because it's inherently dangerous. And a little bit on the other side. I don't think it's fun enough. There we go. Okay. Now I'll just check this before I put everything away. Okay. Okay, so you can see I've got everything welded up here. It's all brazed up. There must have been some pretty serious pony rides back in the day with the kids. And so what I'm going to do now is just clean them off a little bit more and prime and paint. So what I was going to do was mask off these two areas here, and just spray paint this one small area. I have some blue paint that's a little darker than this, but then I was just looking at it. This is where the kids climb up onto it. They put their shoe down here to get in and out of the saddle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint this, both of these pieces entirely. Get out of the fumes, let that dry. I'll be back. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken down I've taken apart the wooden spindles and just sanding, just a light sanding because I don't want to decrease the diameter of this too much. But I just want to sand it down to the natural wood. This is the stop right here. Okay, they had a couple of plastic washers and screws. So this slides through the plastic board. So from here to here isn't going to be affected. You know, I don't have to worry about sanding this, conditioning, or anything like that. The only thing that's going to be exposed is from this point out. And even then, there's a cap that covers the, you know, ½ inch on the end. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just clean these guys up with a paint thinner, hanging them from the chain, and this is the original hardware, right? This is where the spring attaches, right here, but it actually makes an excellent point of attachment for my chain. So when I finish these off, they'll just be hanging from the chain. I don't have to worry about moving them around too much. Give this sanded wood a clear satin finish. Okay, so I've got 3 coats of polyurethane on the wood, and that's all set to go. I just received the springs. Now I ordered some springs through Home Depot. They didn't indicate anything about, you know, being for a hobby horse or anything like that. They just gave the dimensions of the spring. And this is the sticker that was on it, the spring when it came, right? And you can see right up the top there it says Hobby Horse Spring. So I know, you know, I could tell it was an exact replacement because I measured it, but then when it came in it actually said Hobby Horse Spring. Unbeknownst to me, it didn't have any indication that it was for that horse on the Home Depot website. So I really needed 3 hands to put the the spring on the horse. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually picking them up with my chain fall, and yeah, that's my third appendage. Alright, if anything is useful information from this Wonder Horse rebuild, this is going to be it right here. I've got the springs going in. Evidently, the way that this thing went together originally, there was, the spring went around the metal hook, and then there was another metal hook that went inside the spring. This metal hook here, there was 8 of these, right? This, if you put it in at an angle, this will pop inside the spring. Let me just show you right here. Sorry for all the bouncing around. Okay, so this guy here will go into the spring. You have to put it in at an angle, and you got to mess around with it a little bit, but it will go in there. That's why they have this little taper on the end of the spring. You try to get it in there deep where it opens up a little bit wider. I'm going to have to move the camera here because I'm having a hard time doing it. Now I'm going to show you a trick that my father passed along to me. Years ago, I was doing a brake job in the driveway, and I was struggling. I was doing drum brakes. I was struggling with the springs. I had a tool for the spring, but it just wasn't working for me. If you take a piece of strong rope, okay, this stuff here we use for pulling wire in is very, very strong. Yeah, there's a knot in here. I just spliced this together. But anyways, you got a loop on one end, put it through the spring, and now you want to hook this end here onto your horse and then pull. You might need somebody to help hold the horse stable while you do it, but what this will do is it will separate the spring for you, and it will pull it out enough so you can hook it onto the other end. I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay, I'm pulling, and there it is. I'm on. Okay. Now I would have been fighting this thing. I hope you saw that, right? So you put the rope around the spring and use that to pull the spring back. So if you look at the original spring, you can see the opening here is about 1/4 of an inch. That allows the spring to hook right over the 1/4-inch hardware that's on the horse. The new spring, you're looking at maybe 1/8 of an inch. So you can see there is a bit of a difference there, and this was making it a pain in the ass to try to get this thing onto the horse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up a little bit. Catch it right on the very end. And so that opened it up enough to fit over the hardware. And if it didn't, I'll just go back, and I don't want to pry it open too much. I can do it in increments. This is what it looked like before I opened it. And this is the end that I opened. So as I was looking at the sound mechanism, I can see that one of the wires came off. So what I may have to do is get a new I may have to get a new battery clip and just solder on the red and the black wire. Inside here, problem that we had with this toy when the kids were using it was the 9-volt battery wasn't held in place with anything. It was just kind of floating around this compartment. This was upside down like this, and the door kept opening up from the horse rocking back and forth in the weight of the battery, and the battery would pop out. Eventually what it did was it just ripped one of the wires away. So what I'm going to do to fix that problem is I'm going to hot glue a little bit of Velcro in here that will keep that 9-volt battery captive and the weight of the battery won't be hitting up against the door. But now what I've got to do is I've got to solder this wire onto the terminal here that it came off of, and I've got some rosin core wire. I've got a Weller soldering station right here that I'm going to use, and so let's get that going here. All right, so what I'll do here is I'm going to try to attach my vise to this connector here to hold that in place for me while I make this solder connection. Let's see. I'm going to pick this up. Let me just bring this up. So what I think I'm going to do here is just roll this vise over so that I can put this connector into the vise and tighten it down there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tin this wire here, the black wire, which would be the negative. And what I'll do is I'm going to put a little bit of solder on my iron. And over here, right, what I do is I've got a wet sponge and I wipe that solder off. That cleans the tip. And so now it's ready to solder. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to tin this wire right here, and by tinning it, basically what I'm doing is I'm giving it a coating of solder. Let me tin in here a little bit. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is make the connection, because they both have a little bit of solder on it already. Okay, and I'll take a look at that. I've got a loop that I use, right? It's an eyepiece right here, and I'm using that to see, you know, how well the connection is, and it's up, and the connection is pretty good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is you can see that this plastic here that covered these two connectors it's pretty well deteriorated. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of heat shrink about yay long, maybe an inch long. I'm going to cut a couple of notches out of it for the these two terminals right here. I'm going to slide it over it and shrink it down. Okay, here's our heat shrink. And I'll cut it a little long. Let's see. Make a notch right in here. And I'll make a smaller notch for the positive end. Now slide this over. Like that, and I'll use a little bit of flame on this one. I've got a heat gun to do this, but you can also do it with a lighter. So now I'm shrinking down the heat shrink, and you can see that this is fitting nicely around these connections here. Okay, so on further inspection, I've got this, the compartment in here is really close to the battery. So I'm not going to be able to put this Velcro inside. So I'm going to do the next best thing, what MacGyver would do, is I'm going to put a little bit of Velcro that goes right across the door. instead of the old duct tape. I'm going to put a piece of Velcro in here. Basically, it's the same thing, just a little different. So this Velcro is about 3/4 of an inch wide. I'm going to cut it down with some scissors, and I'm going to put a strip on either side of the door and another piece, the hook going across. I'll throw a bead of hot glue down here. Put this right down on it. Not my best work. I'm going to just cut a little bit of this away here where I'm not even going to worry about it, where there was a screw hole. There we go. Okay, let's cut this to length, and a little bit longer. And I'm going to leave the backing on and just put that across there like that. And that should hold the battery in place. I know it doesn't look pretty, but it's going to be on the bottom of the horse. You're not going to see it. Let me just square off this end here just a little bit. Okay, test it out, see if it works. I'm going to slide the on button on. I'm going to slide the switch to the on position. So this switch, to me, a little bit funky, right? I think I've got a problem with the switch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray a little bit of oil right on top of this connection right here, and hopefully it will seep down. Actually, right on the side over here, I can see inside the switch. I'm going to get a little bit of oil in there that will enhance or make a better electrical connection. This oil right here, it's a penetrating oil and moisture remover. It also helps, it lubricates, penetrates, and improves electrical properties. So this also helps with electrical connections. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray a little bit of that right onto the switch here. Okay, that got in there good. Now, let me just get a paper towel here and wipe this away just a little bit. Okay, let's try that again.
Okay, I'm going to slide it off. I'm going to turn it on. Okay. Better connection. I'll slide that off. Let's try it one more time. Nice. Okay. So this guy here is ready to go back onto the horse.
Okay, so there's a couple different ways that we can check the voltage on this new battery that we're going to install. Now, we've got the DMM, the multimeter. You could also check it on your tongue, right? I'm a licensed professional. I don't want you to try this at home. Dare me? Go ahead, double dare me. It works. 8.7 volts. We've got the electronic control mounted back underneath the horse, and now it's just a matter of, pulling this away, opening the door, getting the battery out, and then you can put the Velcro back on there. So let's test it out. Here's our switch. Yeah, I know. The hot glue gun. I know. Yeah, it's my wife's, right? That's what they all say.
Okay, so I lost my voice here, and what I'm going to do is just voice over. I've got a dowel here. It's an old broom handle. I'm just squaring off the end right now with a chop saw, and then I'm going to measure it for a cut for the handles up in the horse's head. Now I'm measuring the hand grip. The hand grip's 4 3/8 of an inch. And what we're going to do is transfer that mark onto the dowel. Of course, after I impale the horse. Now, this just goes to show that the mind is a little bit faster than the body when you get a little bit older. So now I'm going to take my tape measure and measure off 4 3/8 of an inch, mark it, and push that mark up next to the horse's head on that side. Again, I want you people to just cut the old gray-haired guy a little bit of slack. He's lagging a little bit. So now what he's going to do is he's going to mark off 4 3/8 of an inch on the right-hand side of the horse's head. Mark the dowel for the cut. Old and accurate. Yep. And here goes the cut. And now what we're going to do is chamfer the edge on a sander.
So you can see I came in at about a 45-degree angle. Just adding a little chamfer to the end so it's not sharp. And this will also enable me to slide on the handle.
So this is one of the handles, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it on one end first, put it through the horse. I'm going to remeasure it before I put on the other grip, just to make sure. I don't want to find out that there's a little bit of slop in there. If I need to cut this dowel, this handle back a little bit, I'll do that before I put on the second grip. Before I slide the grip onto the handle, I'm just going to wet the handle a little bit with some Armor All, just so it slides on easy. Sometimes these can be a real bear because it is soft rubber. Okay, nice. It's all the way onto the end. And now I'm going to put it through the horse. I'm actually going to wipe it off a little bit, then I'm going to put it in. Go. Got a rag here. We'll wipe that off. And add this guy through. And now I'm going to measure this end again before I put the other handle on. I want to make sure that it goes in all the way. I think that'll be fine. I got about 4 1/4 right there. Ah, that's nice. That's a nice grip. Okay? Again, I don't see any equestrian accidents happening with a grip like that. These were the original grips. Hard plastic. And see, it was all cracked. This enables the rider to get a good firm grip on there.